The 4.7 second half banners have been revealed. The most anticipated rerun character, as well as one of the least anticipated 5 stars that I've maybe ever seen. We're gonna go over their pull value, the value of each of the 4 stars on the banners, as well as whether or not the weapon banner might be worth your wishes. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. So I already made a Sigewinne pre-release video, and we don't have all that much more information than we did when I made the video. So if you want all my thoughts, I'll link it at the end card, so make sure to go check that out. And of course, I'll be building her and testing her immediately when she's released, and I'll have my full day 1 guide very shortly after release, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for that. But the short version is she's going to be a cute, solid Hydro on-fielder, and I think she's going to be a comfy, nice driver for Finina. I think she's probably going to be pretty fun and interesting to play for people that like this design. And I think as long as you do have Finina and Kazuha, not strictly Kazuha, but that's going to be very helpful, and likely Yelan or maybe Fischl, because Sigewinne boosts skill damage, so she'll be boosting your Finina's damage. I think this team should feel good. So if you want to get Sigewinne, if you're excited about Sigewinne, I mean, you gotta get her. I think it's unlikely that she's a meta pull. I think it's possible. Maybe she does somehow enough damage to be the optimal driver for a Finina team. The trouble is being an on-field healer in the era of Finina, when there's so many good on-field characters, is tough. For Sigewinne's competing with the likes of Novelette for this spot. So it's very hard for a character to really stand out as an on-fielder for a Finina team. Because you've got Novelette, but you've also got Hu Tao, Linny, Clorand now. Like, there's a lot of characters vying for the on-field spot in Finina teams. And all those other characters, they have teams outside of Finina. But Sigewinne, being a healer, a lot of her value comes from being paired with Finina. Now, maybe she's better at off-field healing than I think. Maybe her off-field Hydro application is better than I think. And she's a better replacement to Kokomi than I think. But currently, I'm not exactly sure what her overall value is. But I don't think it's going to be super high. Finina, I've made it no secret. I think Finina is the best character in the game right now. Between being Hydro, the best element, being the best buffer in the game that buffs the entire team, and as well as doing some of the best off-field damage, very comparable to the likes of Yelan. And the only requirement to enact her full kit is needing a healer, of which we have lots of good healers, and oftentimes people are playing a healer anyways. So all in all, this makes Finina ridiculously strong. On top of that, most of the strongest teams in the game use Finina. So it's sort of just by basically any observable metric, I think she's the strongest character. I think there's other arguments, right? Like, I think if you want to argue that Kazuha is the best, or that Bennett's the best, or that Nahida's the best, I think there's all arguments for those characters being the best. If you want to argue Yelan's the best, maybe. I think there's good arguments for other characters being the best. Maybe you want to argue Novelette's the best. But by and large, I personally think it's Finina. I think that if you have any interest in this character at all, barring that you hate this character, or barring that you're really saving for some other favorite character of yours, I think you should try and pick up Finina. If you're brand new and you don't know who to get, you don't know what to do, Finina is the one character in the game that you should probably pick up, and that will probably make your life a lot easier and a lot more fun, as she synergizes with so many team comps. You can play her in Freeze, you can play her in Hyper Bloom, you can play her in Vaporize, you can play her in Mono Hydro, you can play her with Geo characters, you can play her with Melt. I just made the video, the strongest team core in Genshin Impact. I'll link that video at the end as well. That's Finina. It's the team that anyone can make, because Bennett's available for free, Shangling is available for free, so anyone can make that team, and then you just put your favorite on-fielder in there and you're away to the races. So okay, that's the situation. But I will say, you don't have to get Finina. She's not a must pull, right? If there's other characters that you want more than her, if you don't like her, if you're new and you want to make sure that you get your favorites first, your favorites maybe coming up next patch, you're saving for Netland, whatever, totally fine. It's not that you can't beat the game without Finina. It's not like that at all. There's lots of very strong team cores in Genshin Impact. It's not like one team or one character is way better than everything else. You only need 2 teams. You don't need a bajillion teams. Well, the new endgame is coming. We'll see how that shakes things up. But I still don't think that endgame makes Finina like a must-have. There's lots of good teams and lots of good characters that you can build that don't need Finina. So you don't need to worry about, you know, your account will be bricked if you don't have her. That's not a thing. Genshin has a lot of characters. As long as you have some of the strong characters, that can enable your favorite characters, then you're fine. So how about these 4 stars? Well, Noel is also an on-field healer, so she is competing with Siege Ween. I know a lot of people really like Noel, and I think she's pretty good these days. I think people oversell her a bit, but I think she's pretty good. I think if you like Noel, like you're now, like now is your time. She's really good. It's really nice to use her. I'll probably make a Noel guide for this banner after it comes out. If you want to build her for damage, she's pretty expensive. You ideally want Red Horn Stone Thresher, Ito's weapon. You ideally want C6 Goro, and it's been a really long time, if ever, since she's appeared on a banner with Goro. But she can also just drive a Finina team that has, you know, Finina Yelan, Kazuha, Finina Yelan, Zhongli, and she can just do sub DPS damage, and that's still pretty solid. So Noel, and a lot of early game players, you use her, and so she's really nice for a brand new player. Like if you're brand new to Genshin and you want a character to carry you, Noel will carry you through the first 80% of the content without breaking a sweat. She's maybe one of the best characters to do that, and if you have high constellations for her, even better. And she is scalable into the end game if you end up falling in love with Noel and you want to keep using her. There's definitely better things to do. Again, the on-field role for your Finina team is very contested. That's a role that a lot of characters want to fill, but Noel is not bad there, and she's a pretty good character now, but I don't think she really adds much value to most people's account, so I would overall call this a dud, even unless you like Noel, in which case it's fine. Rosaria, pretty good off-field cryo. Cryo's in a pretty bad spot right now. I'd say cryo's best team, so the old best team was the reverse melt, where you use double cryo or cryo plus Kazuha and then Bennett Xiangling, and that was reverse melt. So you'd use Rosaria, Kaya, Bennett Xiangling, and that was good. Nowadays, I like to replace Kaya with Finina, and that's the part of the team that I link at the end cards with the new best team core in Genshin, and that's a really good team for Rosaria. So if you have Bennett Xiangling and you like yourself a Rosaria, because I know a lot of people like Rosaria, right? She's got a great design, she's super hot, she's super cool, both at the same time. You want to build your Rosaria, you want her to pop off, that's a great team. Try it out, especially maybe first half of this Abyss. You're going to thank me later. You build your Rosaria, you're going to be happy with how that team performs. She does lots of damage, Finina does damage, Xiangling's doing damage, and Bennett's healing everyone and buffing everyone's attack because everyone snapshots, and Finina's buffing everyone on the team. It's absurd how well the team works together. Rosaria is not the only character that works in that slot. Any cryo, and again you'll see it with the video, any team works well, or any character that's like attack scaling works with that team. But Rosaria does work really well, and the team really pops off, and it feels very good. That being said, I don't think that cryo really brings a lot of value to your account at this time. It's totally possible in the future that cryo gets buffed and there's more value for cryo, but for right now, cryo is kind of down there with Geo in terms of an element that you don't need. It was the element that you use to take away the Hydroelector shields, which were a pain in the butt before. Nowadays, Dendro is way better at taking on those shields. Freeze used to be really good. Freeze kind of sucks now. So cryo is just in a place that's not super good. So for a lot of accounts, Rosaria is also kind of a dud on this banner. And then Gaming is a really good DPS, but he's a DPS that, as a lot of people found out, he's much better in sheet than he is in practice. He does have a cool melt team that was recently rediscovered, not too recently and not too rediscovered. People knew about it before, but there has been more and more clears of people getting good with Gaming using Diona. I think it's Diona Rosaria Bennett, I think is what the team is, and that's super cool. I've been meaning to try that out. I'll probably finally C6 my Gaming after this banner, so that's really good for me. This banner is solid for me because I need Siege Ween and I need Gaming, so hopefully I can get myself my 2 more copies of Gaming. I think if you don't have a Pyro DPS yet and you want to build a Pyro DPS, Gaming is, and you end up with a high constellation Gaming, that is actually good value for your account. Gaming is really strong. Not a lot of people use him because they already have Pyro DPSs and they don't have high constellation Gaming, and even if they did, again, there's already so many Pyro DPSs. There's already Arlecchino, there's already Hu Tao, there's already Linny, there's already yoimiya, there's already Klee, there's so many Pyro DPS, there's off-field DPS with Xiangling. Why build a Gaming? The new Imaginarium Theater wants you to build more and more characters, so Gaming's value could increase because of that, but I definitely wouldn't dissuade someone. He's definitely the strongest 4-star carry when you have C6, at least C4. not really worth building before you get C4, but this is a great banner for him, right? He wants to use Rosaria, he wants to use Finina, he doesn't really want to use Sigewinne, but this is a pretty solid. You add Bennett, and you know, you've got some of the tools that you need to make it work. He doesn't need Shenyun. He's not tied to Shenyun at all. There's other solid teams. Double Hydro Bennett I really liked with him. There's lots of cool stuff you can do. So I would call this is a pretty solid pull for some people, for especially newer players. But if you've already got yourself a Hu Tao, if you've already got yourself a Diluc, and you already want to build a Diluc, I think Gaming's better than Diluc, but if you've already got him, you've already got him leveled up, already got yourself Arlecchino, it lowers value. And I know Imaginarium Theater, the new endgame mode, is coming, so having duplicates, having duplicate roles is much more value than it once was. Because it's not out, I'm just not sure how valuable it's really going to be, especially given that we're getting trial characters. And how self-sufficient is Gaming? I think he's reasonably self-sufficient, he's reasonably flexible. There's a whole lot of host of things that before I make recommendations as to whether a character adds value to account based on the new endgame mode, I need to actually play it. I need to actually test it. We need to have everyone's feedback on it before we can talk about whether a character is valuable for that mode. So maybe, you know, maybe all these characters are valuable, but at the moment, I'm just not sure. So overall, these banners are pretty darn mid. I was really hoping, because it's been a while since we've had Kuki. I was hoping for Kuki. You know, Fischl would make a lot of sense here. Singcho would make a lot of sense here. But these are kind of weird. These are kind of weird banners. I don't know what kind of account these are really good for. They don't work well together. I mean, Gaming is sort of the glue that holds everything together. He's the only hope. You know, and Noel and Finina kind of work. Gaming, Finina, Rosaria kind of work. Sigewinne, I mean, I guess you can do free stuff with Rosaria, but that's pretty sus. But overall, I wish the banners had were just a little bit better. But again, I think Finina is so good that you don't look at the 4 stars when wishing for Finina. You just get Finina because she's that good. She single-handedly saves your account if you just get a copy of her. So what about the weapon banner? Is this weapon banner good? Well, let's look at what Sigewinne's weapon actually does. Oh yeah, and the thing that everyone is talking about is Kaveh still has not had a banner release since his first banner. I talked about this in my When Will Every Character rerun video, but he hasn't rerun since his original rerun with Baiju. Baiju's rerun twice since then, and Kaveh has still not been on any banners, which is absolutely nuts. I'll definitely have to make a Kaveh guide when he comes back, and I can get a C6 of him. But it does feel kind of like a troll at this point. Some people think it has something to do with the fact that there was like a glitch where they were using Kaveh to remove the Spiral Abyss. It was like a hack where they used Kaveh to remove Spiral Abyss from people's worlds. It was fixed. Everything was fine, but there was like a day where there was like a hacker running loose and they used Kaveh. I wonder if that has something to do with it. I wonder if there's like voice acting issues. I they were trying to make people simp for Kaveh by waiting for so long. I don't know. I bet she reruns with Emily because Dendro character. That's my prediction. So looking at Sigewinne's weapon, it's a bow that gives HP and increases HP when they have stacks. Stacks for elemental skill, stacks for receiving increase in the value of Bond of Life. Jeez. 1 stack when performing healing. Elemental burst crit rate increases by 28% when they have 3 stacks. So that Bond of Life thing really ties this bow to Sigewinne specifically. So it is an HP substat bow, so it could be good on Yelan? Question mark? That's all I can think of in terms of other value. I could see this, I could unironically seeing it being pretty solid option on Yelan because she currently doesn't have that many options for bows aside from her own and Fav. I don't know if it ends up being much better than Fav though, because she needs energy recharge. So maybe if you happen to have C1 Yelan, so you need less ER, but you don't have her bow for some reason, even though it's the best bow in the game. Yeah, this is pure copium for most people. Finina's sword is pretty good. The problem with it is that it doesn't give her energy recharge, and she needs energy recharge as well. So it's not as big of an increase as you would like. I would say that it's good. Like if you want to simp for her, you want, you know, her best sword. It is still her best sword, and for sure it'll be a nice increase in damage, especially if you have like her C2, because her damage becomes so much, like, even more exceedingly impactful. But constellations for Finina are much better to go for than her weapon. So getting her C1 is a huge increase. Her C2 is another huge increase. Her C1 is an increase in her buffing. A C2 is increased in personal damage. Both of them are very, very, very powerful constellations. Either one could be a stopping point, but Finina's the best character in the game at C0, so I think C0 is a great stopping point. But definitely going for those before her weapon, especially considering how niche Sigewin's bow is. As far as the 4 stars, Sack Bow is okay. Lion's Roar is okay. Like, it's good for like Cloran Keqing. Fav Codex is solid. Lithic Blade, kind of yikes. And Fav Lance, best polearm in the game. I don't recommend wishing on this weapon banner unless you just like want the drip for one of your characters. That's really where I go, but this isn't really the value. Finina's weapon is a crit damage weapon, so it's an alright stat stick, but it's nothing crazy. It doesn't like work best in slot with very many characters. It's no miss splitter. So overall, skip the weapon banner, enjoy your day, and make sure to subscribe for my Sigewin guide day 1. Let me know who you're wishing for. Take care. Bye for now.